Have you ever found yourself giggling at the mention of a place name? Well, you're not alone. In fact, there are some towns in the UK with names so funny they'll have you questioning if they were concocted by a mischievous cartographer. In today's globe trekking episode, we're revealing the top 10 British place names that sound straight out of a comedy sketch. Trust us, these names are so absurdly delightful, they'll make you want to hop on the next flight just for the Insta-worthy road signs. From a village that stirs up your culinary imagination to a town that sounds like humanity's collective empathy embodied, we're touring the most uproariously named locales in the UK. And before we uncover this treasure trove of chucklesome names, smash that subscribe button to join our globe trekking community. Let's embrace the silliness of cartography together. You don't want to miss any of the fun on our weekly adventures. Number 10, Nether Wallop. Yes, it's a real place, and it's absolutely wallop your knees hilarious. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Nether Wallop is the fabric of fiction, perhaps conjured by a quirky novelist with a penchant for peculiar names. But in the heart of Hampshire's picturesque countryside lies this village with a name that effortlessly tickles the funny bone. Imagine the playful conversation starters you'd have at your disposal, simply by hailing from a place with such a comically resounding moniker. Nestled in Hampshire, this village might make you think of a cheeky British sitcom, one where the characters are as eccentric and endearing as the name itself suggests. Nether Wallop exudes a warm, almost storybook charm that seems to beckon passers-by with a knowing wink and a nod. It's a name that captures the whimsy and lightheartedness of the English at their best. With each road sign pointing towards Nether Wallop, one can't help but expect an ensemble of delightfully quirky neighbors just awaiting their introduction. Critics claim humor shouldn't be based on names. Too cheap? Too bad. It's funny. In a world brimming with serious news and stern faces, the innocent hilarity derived from an amusingly named village is a welcome respite. Some may scoff, suggesting that finding mirth in a name is low-hanging fruit. But when life gifts us these small parcels of joy, like the whimsical sound of Nether Wallop, it seems almost churlish to refuse them. After all, in an age where laughter is often in short supply, isn't it better to embrace the silly, the absurd, and the downright delightful wherever we may find it? Number 9, Westward Ho. Strap in for a journey to the only town in Britain that's so excited to see you. It comes with its built-in cheer, Westward Ho. That's right, you heard it correctly. An exclamation mark is part of the official name, and it's not a typo. This vivacious village in Devon not only stands out on a map, but practically jumps off the page and into your travel itinerary with its punctuated enthusiasm. What's in a name? Everything if you're talking about Westward Ho. This charming spot was baptized after Charles Kingsley's 1855 novel, and it's as though the town leapt straight out of its Victorian literary origins and into modern reality. Imagine telling friends you're vacationing in a place that ends with a flourish, where every day feels like the start of a grand adventure. It's the only town that insists you exclaim its name with gusto, whether ordering it printed on your custom souvenirs or mailing a postcard home with that extra bit of flair. Now, there may be some party poopers out there who argue that punctuation in a place name is frivolous, that it doesn't deserve our giggles. But let's be honest, in a world brimming with towns named High Wycombe or Great Snoring, a destination with a built-in exclamation mark is more than just expressive. It's an irresistible invitation to fun. And who are we to decline such a jubilant summons? Number 8, Ugley, Essex. Nestled in the serene English countryside lies Ugley, a name that invariably raises eyebrows before it elicits good-natured snickers. No, Ugley is not an aesthetic indictment on the village itself, which is quite charming in its own right. But good luck convincing anyone you're being serious when you announce you're off to visit Ugley without sparking a chorus of chuckles. Despite its picturesque setting in Essex, Ugley is burdened with a name that's the butt of many a joke, much to the stoic chagrin of its steadfast locals. Puns abound, souvenirs sell like hotcakes, and social media posts tagged in Ugley garner eye-rolling and thumbs-up alike. To its credit, the town gamely plays along with the jest, though it would be entirely forgivable if the residents sometimes wished for a more neutral moniker. As some wag their fingers and tut-tut at the frivolity of mocking a village's name as low-hanging comedic fruit, it begs the question, have we become too sophisticated, too mature to revel in a bit of harmless fun? Surely there's room in our adult lives to crack a smile over something as innocently amusing as the name of Ugley without feeling, well, ugly about it. Number 7. Loose Kent. Not a commentary on the morals of the locals, but you bet it's a punchline goldmine. The very name of Loose prompts a mischievous grin, sparking endless jests about the character of its population. In truth, this charming village is anything but, with its picturesque scenery and traditional English character. It's situated in Kent, where apparently they're relaxed about naming conventions. This delightful setting amidst rolling hills and serene gardens seems blissfully unaware of the chuckles its name elicits. Visitors might come for the humor, yet stay for the tranquil vibe, proving Loose is more than just comedic fodder. Some might find such humor distasteful. Should we tighten up our comedy standards? Perhaps, but let's not dismiss the innocent mirth that place names like Loose can provide. After all, in a world often shrouded in seriousness, a little lighthearted laughter can be a welcome reprieve. Whether it's puns, wordplay, or just the oddity of language, humor finds a way to connect us, and Loose certainly has the right spirit. Number 6. Curry Mallet, Somerset. Imagine strolling through the picturesque streets of Curry Mallet, where the name itself tinkles the taste buds and hammers home a sense of whimsy. Who would have thought that combining the zest of spices with the solidity of tools could cook up such an appetizing village name? It's a fusion that culinary and DIY lovers can savor, and indeed, it leaves visitors chuckling as they snap photos beside the village sign. Set amid the rolling greens of Somerset, Curry Mallet doesn't need a Michelin star to draw attention. Its name alone is a recipe for laughter, seasoned perfectly with a dash of British quirk. Visitors can't help but wonder if there's an untold story of a medieval blacksmith with a penchant for vindaloo, or perhaps a legendary cook who traded spatulas for mallets. Some may turn up their noses, scoffing that a food tool-based village name is far from the height of sophistication. Surely we can do better than culinary puns. But to that, the locals might serve up a knowing smile with a side of cheeky retort. In a world where haute cuisine often takes itself rather seriously, why not relish a place name that's served with a side of humor? After all, a little laughter is a spice that goes well with any dish, and Curry Mallet offers it up in generous portions. Number 5. Giggleswick, North Yorkshire. It's not just a name, it's an invitation to chuckle. With a moniker like Giggleswick, it's clear that this North Yorkshire village doesn't take itself too seriously. Or does it? Either way, the name alone is enough to bring a smile to your face, a guffaw to your lips, and perhaps a puzzled look as you wonder about the origins of such a whimsical name. North Yorkshire's claim to comical fame. Are they giggling all the way to the bank? Perhaps the local tourism board is, as visitors flock to snap a cheeky selfie next to the town's signpost. It's a marketer's dream, the kind of viral content that money can't buy and humor that requires no translation. Naysayers will suggest it's lowbrow humor, but can we resist a town that prompts a titter? Sure, the critics might be out there wagging their fingers and decrying the simple joy of a humorous place name, but in a world that can often seem all too grim, what's the harm in taking a moment to enjoy the lighter side of life, courtesy of places like Giggleswick? Number 4. Pity Me, Durham. Where sorrow meets whimsy, you'll find Pity Me, a village name so drenched in self-mockery, even the staunchest stoic can't help but raise an eyebrow. History has not been clear on whether inhabitants christened the village with a sigh or simply stumbled upon a naming mishap, Yet one thing is unquestionable. The moniker has garnered more than its fair share of double takes. Enveloped in the stoic grandeur of Durham, Pity Me is a splash of tragicomedy on the stark canvas of English place names. Here, melancholy is met with mirth, as even the mere mention of Pity Me beckons an inevitable smirk, often followed by the infectious curiosity to visit. Voice a disapproval of this empathy-evoking village name, and you may be met with tongue-in-cheek rebuke. After all, in a world brimming with pragmatism, perhaps we need a Pity Me to remind us not to take life too seriously. Those who roll their eyes at such onomastic creativity perhaps lack the playful spark of imagination, that very spark that reminds us that, amidst life's myriad complexities, humor might just be the simplest balm. Number 3. Bishop's Itchington. Nestled in the heart of England, Bishop's Itchington might sound like an affliction that would have a high-ranking clergy member reaching for the holy water. It's not every day you come across a village name that sounds like a condition demanding a prescription, yet here it is, an itch you just can't ignore. With a name that tickles the funny bone, this Warwickshire wonder is the sort of place that could make even the Archbishop of Canterbury scratch his head in bemusement. From the tranquil streets of Warwickshire, the villages stand proud and picturesque, a quintessentially English tableau of thatched roofs and neatly trimmed hedges. Then, you catch a glimpse of the unassuming signpost that heralds your arrival into Bishop's Itchington, and the stately veneer gives way to a smirk. It's a stumbling block of a name that turns a shadowy hamlet into the unlikely star of satirical comedy and pun-filled banter, belying the dignity you'd expect from such venerated surroundings. While some critics might find the humor in such ecclesiastical references uncouth, branding the comedy as sacrilegious rib-tickling at the expense of an age-old institution, one has to wonder, are we taking our titles too seriously? After all, if history has taught us anything, it's that a little irreverence goes a long way. Bishop's Itchington, though it may not be the balm for every soul, proves that sometimes the best way to consecrate a place in people's hearts is through a few light-hearted chuckles. Number 2. Crapstone, Devon. If you think juvenile potty humor is beneath us, this Devon village didn't get the memo. With a name that could make even the Queen snicker into her tea, Crapstone is the unexpected hero of lavatory laughs. It's a name that's hard to say with a straight face, whether you're asking for directions or writing it on an envelope. It's hard not to snigger, even if the locals are proud of their unique name. You have to admire the residents for embracing their town's moniker with such a steely sense of pride. After all, in a world that can be all too serious, why not celebrate the lighter side of life with a name that cuts right through the pretense? Detractors will lament toilet humor's prevalence. Is our comedic bar set too low? Perhaps, but then again, in Crapstone, they might argue that humor is all about perspective. And let's be honest, in the pursuit of a smile, sometimes the low-hanging fruit can be the most deliciously ripe for the picking. Number 1. Twatt, Orkney. Unfortunate or amusing? Whichever side of the fence you fall on, the Orkney settlement of Twatt certainly takes the cake for eyebrow-raising place names. It's the kind of name that makes one do a double take. Is it a practical joke by whimsical cartographers? Perhaps not, but its distinct moniker is enough to ensure it's never left off a list of Britain's most bizarrely named locales. Perfect for a postcard that keeps on giving, Twatt is the gift that keeps on making folks chuckle, especially in our current age dominated by social media virality. The potential for puns and gags is endless, and visitors often can't resist the opportunity to capture that classic photo with the town sign, an essential addition to any traveler's Instagram grid or a cheeky postcard home. Critics, often with furrowed brows and stern expressions, will be up in arms about vulgarity taking center stage in modern humor, chastising the masses for finding amusement in such names. But in the grand tapestry of life's stresses and challenges, isn't a moment of pure, unabashed laughter the best kind of remedy? Twatt, in its innocent historical essence, delivers just that. A pause for laughter in a world that could always use a bit more joy. As we conclude our whimsical expedition through some of Britain's curiously named locations, we can't help but reflect on the sheer comedic delight these village names bring. They say laughter is universal, and whether it's the self-deprecating charm of Pity Me or the expressive exuberance of Westward Ho, a good chuckle is a cherished respite in our often too serious world. From Nether Wallop's knee-slapping nomenclature to Twatt's unintentionally risque resonance, the joy these places provide goes beyond mere amusement. It's about celebrating the quirkiness that exists in the corners of maps, the delight in discovery, and the universal language of humor that connects us all, regardless of postcode. So if you've enjoyed this light-hearted look at geographic giggle factories, make sure to subscribe to Globe Trekking for more entertaining escapades. And as you go about your day, let the thought of living in a place like Giggleswick or Crapstone bring a sly smile to your face. After all, life's too short not to appreciate the little things that give us a giggle. Now, while you're here, why not continue the fun by watching our video on the top 10 quirkiest festivals around the world? Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, no matter where you are on the globe, there's always a reason to smile.